Chitanasohan or something like that. That's his vigil name. He actually has been involved in OA since I think the 70s when he did ceremonies. He's the guy who wrote the New Brotherhood ceremony. He's had this book put out for a long time. It's really, there's aspects in here which are good. It talks, in some ways, it's a little bit fluffy. In other words, it's more philosophical or symbolic or abstract than explicit. You can do this, you should do this kind of thing. But it talks about the differences between the principles, what their characteristics are, things that you can incorporate. Even if we didn't talk about that too much in that first group, but each principle has a different personality, right? I mean, Alawat Sakima, the mighty chief, he's the guy, right? Okay, he's been selected by his peers to be the chief, the leader, and so he should come off as a very solid, not necessarily stern, but maybe a little bit, kind of person. Kitchkane, guy, he's a happy kind of, smiling fellow. I mean, he's here to help you along the way as much as I can do, that kind of thing. Teyu is, your abstract, your medicine man, lofty thinker, kind of poet, looking for spiritual awakening and inspiration in the world around him, that kind of thing. Even if, it should be possible for you to actually have someone switch and say the words for one of the other parts in the characterization of the personality of their part, and you listen and can be able to tell that that's what's happening there. Okay, so it's a subtle thing. It's kind of hard to do, but something to think about. So, I guess Nudikut as the guardian of the circle, he might be the strict guy, I guess. I am the guardian of the circle, that kind of thing. Even though he's the one who's saying, "Awake, my friends," trying to wake you up, wake up that spirit of fellowship and friendship within you. There's a ton of symbolism in all these things. There are classes you can take at NOAC if anyone's going to that about that symbolism. This book covers some of that. It'll help you get a little bit more of a feel and insight into kind of what's happening. Again, some of it doesn't make sense. I've gone to training classes that talk about symbolism. I was a vigil member at that point in time, and someone would ask a question about ceremonies, and the guy who's giving the class gave him an answer. And I know that answer wasn't correct, but because he wasn't talking to someone who was a vigil member, that's the answer that he had to give him. Because there's something built in there. So, resources, the drum. That's one thing. Online things that are downloadable there's a guide to inductions. Okay, this is all available from the National OA site. A guide to inductions, which kind of talks really more about the overall conclave process. It's not specific to ceremonies, but it kind of helps out. There is also a guide for ceremony advisors. Basically talks about a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. The importance of gestures, nuance, phrasing, the emotion and feeling that you're putting into all the words. There's also a guide to evaluating ceremonies, and that can be useful to you guys who are both working on stuff or advising a team. In that, it talks about, it is basically how they're, if you went to a NOAC or went to a competition, what they're looking for. And so if you hit the points that they're talking about, are they using gestures effectively, that kind of stuff, that'll help you a lot too. There are some discussion groups. I think there's Facebook ones discuss, maybe ways of doing things. One of the things this book mentions, and that even though we might get wrapped up in regalia or setting up ceremonies, I mean, we go all out with our ceremony sites. We have 5 TPs. We have a lot of the stuff that Steve has over there with regard to animal skulls, and we have medicine poles with our lodge symbol, hanging up on the pole, gateways, all that stuff. It's very impressive. It's not necessary. With regard to our regalia, we talked about over there, we were, for the team regalia as a whole, second in the nation at the last NOAP. Okay, so really good. It's not necessary. You have ribbon shirts, you had leggings, or some close enough, breechcloths, or actually aprons, because we aren't really doing them as breechcloths. Good enough. We try to stay away from, don't talk about regalia, stay away from the Indian bonnets and the horned heads for Mateu, the animal heads for the medicine man. Again, I'll get back to Native American culture, because, of course, eagle feathers, feathered bonnets have meaning to them, and that kind of thing. So just a very good ceremony done in very simple regalia in a simple setting can be more effective than all the pomp and circumstance that you do. So that's about it. Any questions?